This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from FEMA Region 5 in the new media production studio hideout designed by Audimute.com in Coldwater, Michigan. The lead stories as we end week 11 of the national lockdown. Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act comes under fire. Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey disagree on fact-checking. Arizona sues Google, claiming it illegally tracked Android users. And Uber says 158,000 drivers will lose work if they're reclassified as employees. I want to welcome you to episode 1450 of the Geek News Central podcast for Thursday, May 28th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider. We are live once again on geeknewscentral.com/live, live.geeknewscentral.com. We're on Facebook, maybe on Twitter. We're on Twitch and Mixer. Everyone, welcome to the show. And if you're a brand new listener to the podcast, thanks for being here. Thanks for checking the show out for the very first time. Glad that you're on board. And all you got to do to become part of a permanent member of this great family of listeners is to come over to geeknewscentral.com. And when you're on the website, all you got to do is get subscribed to the show right there in the right-hand column of the website. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Android, Stitcher by email. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we got a more info button on the page. Get subscribed to the podcast. Also consider subscribing to the newsletter. The newsletter contains everything that I'm going to talk about during the show today. Has all the links to all the articles. You have a permanent record of everything that I cover. Of course, all that information resides at geeknewscentral.com as well. Hey, if you're on watching live today, make sure you said hello. Check in. Hey, Toby, how you doing? Thanks for checking in live. I am doing the show live every Monday and Thursday night if you guys want to join me for a little bit of fun. Of course, you can listen to the show on blueberry.com. Or use your smart home device by saying the keyword, the magic keyword, wake that device up. I got a Google device in here that seems to want to wake up on its own all the time. But all you got to do is say, play the podcast Geek News Central. You can also join our chat room. We got a great chat room. We got a Mastodon chat room. Oh, it didn't update yet. Mastodon chat room at geeknews.chat. So you can go over there and get connected on that. Join the family over there. We've got a Slack channel as well. You can also join our Discord channel. Don't worry, there'll be no one there censoring you, okay? You don't have to worry about that on those channels, especially on our Mastodon chat server. So you can contact me via email. That's the best part about this. If you have comments on today's show, geeknews@gmail.com. Send your comments, or if you want to join the Slack channel, that's the way to do that too. Follow me on Twitter at Geek News. Of course, I'm on Facebook. And of course, all the partner shows are linked at geeknewscentral.com. That would include the GNC Week in Review, the Gadget Professor, the Pro Gear Site, the New Media Show, Podcast Legends, and the Podcast Insider at podcastinsider.com. You can always pick up Ohana gear at cafepress.com/Ohana store. This show is sponsored by the longest running continuous sponsor of a podcast. That's our good friends at GoDaddy.com. You can find all the savings on all kinds of different deals. Again, this is the best way to save money going online. All you got to do, again, is go to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy, and you're going to be hooked up. This is really the way to stay connected. You with all your different online opportunities. 30% off new product purchases, $4.99.coms on new or transfer domains, $1 off, $1 a month, monthly economy hosting. I screwed that up. So $1 a month economy hosting for the first year includes a free domain, and $1 a month to manage WordPress hosting for the first year with a free domain. So again, get you started for $12, get your domain, get your website, get online. If you're a business owner, consider our free trial of GoDaddy website builder, your choice of personal business or business plus plans. And yes, everything is there. And we're coming very close to the end of the month. So if you've been thinking about something, this is now the time to do it. to jump in there, to get involved, and pick up a GoDaddy product or service. And we want to thank GoDaddy for being a longtime sponsor here of Geek News Central and their ongoing support. And again, you can pick up some great savings and deals. Did you guys notice I had a little brain fart there? It's kind of like a cog flipped or something. I don't know what happened. That was kind of weird. Okay, so what have I been up to? Well, some are you going to laugh, some are you going to be shocked. But I spent Memorial Day weekend with a hammer in my hand, working on some projects. And I was actually did some wiring as well, and that turned into an interesting story. So, on this project, needs a new 220 line run. So the electrician had run a 220 line for my sister, or 240 line, if you want to call it. And I was he got it up to where it was, put the not bare wires, but the wires in a box. And then when I figured out the connections that I needed to finish wiring this up, I bought the receptacle for the box, got that all wired in, got all my wire checks done, had the voltmeter, everything's good, and went and turned off the circuit breaker at the over on where the electrician runs circuit breaker, or a new circuit breaker. Got the new plug, got that in, got it, and put the new wire on a plug, got that in, was tacking the wire around to where it needed to go. And I got to the point where I needed to terminate that wire where it was going to go into the box that they'd done the run from. So I'm on a ladder. And I got dikes in my hands. You guys know where this is going, right? I got dikes in my hands, and dikes are wire cutters. That's, I guess, what I've always called them. So I had wire cutters in my hand, and I got this 8-gauge wire that's capable of carrying 50 amps, and I cut into it, and I squeeze it, and all of a sudden, boom! I flipped the wrong breaker. And I cut into 220 volt cables with the return, 8-gauge. Now, my wire cutters had plastic coating on them. It's the only thing that saved me. I didn't get shocked at all, but I jumped back in shock. My brain registering, I threw the breaker as I'm falling to the floor. I landed on my ass and knocked over a sawhorse, and everything was on that, went everywhere. And I'm laying on the floor with seeing smoke curl through the atmosphere, and I'm wondering, what did you do? What did you do? And I stood up, and I'm looking at that plug like, I turned the breaker off. I'm dumbfounded. I walk around the corner, and I go to where the breaker box is, and I'm looking at the breaker box, and yep, instead of turning off, so I had checked it, right? Checked it with voltmeter. Power was good. Went over to the breaker box, flipped the breaker, and came back and started doing the next segment, and never checked the socket. And I flipped. It could have been bad. It could have been bad. So I really, quite frankly, had dodged a bullet this weekend. And all my buddies, all my friends that have done electrical work with me over the years, they're all, you didn't pull the circuit breaker. Well, I did. I pulled the wrong circuit breaker. And that was one of those wake-up calls, because I was pretty dumb. So now I'm like super gun shy. I'm like triple, three, four times checking. And so I dodged a bullet, and I got lucky, and it was a big lesson for me for you know yeah, I went over there. My brain, you turned it off, right? And here's the crazy part. So I had wired up the plug. It's like one of those big dryer plugs, right? And pushed it into the socket, and this spool of wire that I had laying on the floor was basically live that entire time that I was tacking that cable over to where it was going to be. The actual cable is going to be terminated. And wow, oh wow. So anyway, that was my excitement for the Memorial Day weekend. Back here in the office, it's been long hours this week, lots of meetings, corporate America and podcasting, and our aggressiveness in pricing is basically getting a lot of business. We're moving a lot of business off big players, and it's paying dividends. Our strategy, I learned from strategy here. So, it was I cannot complain. Been busy, and I guess that's the main thing, right? So, anyway, but I'm joyful. It's a short week. I'm glad it's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm looking forward to a weekend. Still got plenty to do, helping out around the house and so forth. But trying to look at going back to Hawaii for a few days. But there is just, right now, they're still putting people in a 14-day quarantine to go back. So I don't want to be stuck in the house for a week if I do go back, just because of their rules over there. So what's going on here? How come this is not updating? I'm going to want to show the screen. It hasn't changed. So what happened there? Let me shut this software down. I may not have screen stuff today to show off, which would suck. And let me do this because it was updating slow, and I know why. Well, let me turn Wi-Fi back on, so maybe that's what was going on. Okay, so a little technical issues here, no big deal. But anyway, so let's get in the meat of stuff a little bit here. I'm sure that you've been following along what's been going on a little bit in the news and the president's battle with Twitter, and having them marked one of his tweets as false or something to that effect. And it's all surrounding something that is called the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And I think it's good that everyone gets educated here on this show. I am not going to be talking about the merits of the tweet or anything like that. But so everyone understands, this is something that really was really, really a big deal when it was announced. And it's one of the things that protects businesses like mine and allows people to be able to put content online that I may not necessarily, well, let me back up. By law, if we find pornography, hate speech, a variety of different things, then I can take that down without recourse as part of my terms of service. But if I have someone on my network, my podcast network, that is saying a point of view or saying something that may not be true, having a diverse opinion, I can't be sued for they can try, but I can't technically be sued for their content because I'm not moderating it. I don't go out and take stuff down or put notices about content on our site. It's just it can't be done. And when the Communication Decency Act was put in place, much of that was really bad legislation, but the one piece that did stay, the Section 230, was that it basically says no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. So Todd is an information content provider. What I say is my own. I own it. And when I upload it onto Blueberry Podcasting, it is going there, and Blueberry Podcasting cannot be considered the publisher of that information. So online intermediaries that host or republish speech, again, are protected against a range of laws that might otherwise be used to hold them legally responsible. Now, the main difference here is, let's take a newspaper. A newspaper is not protected by this content on anything that they publish. They don't have a CDA 230 protection. But companies like Twitter, companies like Facebook, podcasting companies like mine, and so forth that have a lot of creator content come in, we are protected under Section 230. And we know, as part of our ability to remain within Safe Harbors Act, is that we cannot touch. We cannot, again, unless it's child pornography, hate speech, that type of stuff, we have a right to take that down because it's in our terms of service of our company. Internet service providers are protected about the data that goes through them. And again, interactive computer service providers, again, companies like Twitter, are protected under this until, and this is where they've all been pressing the line on this for many years, is community guidelines, taking something down for community guidelines, flagging something for suspect information. They're applying editorial controls and editorial notices to those tweets, Facebook posts, whatever it may be. And you can't have it, according to this law, you can have it both ways. So there's going to be a lot of people are going to say, well, Todd, whatever was put out was false. Maybe it was. You know how much false information I used to see on bulletin boards and all kinds of information over the years? Here's the thing. I had a brain. I could use my own judgment on what people said. Well, now, these companies are at a point where they're having to regulate and moderate the content that's on their sites. And they're flagging it. And this is wherein lies the problem. Again, it's a fine line, and I'm sure we're going to see this play out over the next several months. There's going to be the executive order the president signed today does not do away with 230. He can't take it away. That has to be, Congress has to do that. But what they can do is they can look at the body of the law and use the case law that's out there for this, and then start telling companies, hey, you're not within the guidelines of this anymore. And depending on the Department of Justice and depending on states and attorney generals and all this stuff that's throughout the country, they can start having some actions against potentially these companies. And maybe there's going to be lawsuits. Now, this is going to rile some of you up, but I've been saying for a while, and I know absolutely unequivocally that certain groups are getting shadow banned. Their content gets suppressed so it can't be seen. Is that a form of censorship? Is that a form of editorial control? I think so, in my opinion. So, with Facebook having more than 1 billion users and YouTube uploading 100 hours of video every minute, it would be infeasible for online intermediaries to prevent objectionable content from cropping up from time to time. And this Section 230 is protected, and it's good for companies like mine. But we also understand the constraints of 230 and what we can and cannot do with content that comes into our system. I can't act as a traffic cop. I can't put flags on content, because that not only does that mean I'm listening to it or reading it or watching it, then that makes me an editor. If I put an editorial comment on someone's content as a company owner, and I warn someone about something in the content, that is a way to lose your 230 protection. People are going to lose their damn mind over the next couple. You're going to hear all kinds of stuff coming out. And remember, the legal protections provided by 230 are unique to U.S. law. European nations, Canada, Japan, and the vast majority of other countries do not have similar statuses on the books. And while these countries have high levels of internet access, most prominent online services are based in the United States. This is in part because of 230. And it makes USA a safe haven for websites that want to provide a platform, according to what's being said here on EFF, for controversial or political speech or legal environment to have free expression and just lie. It's what it really boils down to here. Well, that didn't do no good. So, some people want and love this type of censorship. They've been calling for it without understanding truly the ramifications of it and how it could be changed. I do not see Section 230 going away, but I see Section 230 being amended to be more modern in the current day. Many of you on Facebook have seen what has happened here recently. You post something that you believe is true, that you think is true, that you think adds to the conversation, only to find that content removed, taken down. You have, in fact, been censored. There's been editorial control put upon your content. So when I hear Mark Zuckerberg saying that he disagrees on fact-checking the president, Mark Zuckerberg understands what is at risk. Zuckerberg said it's wrong for companies to become the arbiter of truth. And this to me is laughable. He's talking out both sides of his mouth. Again, Zuckerberg said it's wrong for companies to become the arbiter of truth. But yet, this is exactly what is happening on Facebook today. So to me, this is comical. Now, he said the president. Now let's just, words are important here. Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey disagree in fact-checking the president, but what Mark Zuckerberg doesn't say, Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey agree on fact-checking their users, because they are already. If you haven't seen it on a Facebook page, how many of you posted something on your Facebook page that has disappeared, or you've gotten a notice of a takedown, or there's been a flag of information put on it, or no one in your group has ever sees it, not a single like. It's ghosted. How many of you have seen that? If you haven't, you're one of the few. You're one of the few. So this is, and here's the interesting thing about 230. Both Democrats and Republicans want it gone or changed. Even Democratic vice presidential candidate Joe Biden. Did you know that? So before you get all pissed off, understand this is not just a Republican thing. This is a bipartisan thing. Now, what is the alternative? Well, you can say something on their platform and they just cancel you. Take your account down. I suspect that could be what happens next. I suspect that this is just the first or second shot across the bow here. I would fully expect this to escalate. And so what does that do to the users of those services? They then become self-censoring and not really saying what they want to say because they may lose their account, because now that they don't have any protection against what anyone says on their platform, they have to then go into full editorial mode. Well, that's what newspapers do. But they have control, right? They control what comes up on their website. It's a controlled experience, what you see on the news and what you see in the newspaper. They only feed you what they want and what they have vetted. Thousands and thousands of letters to the editor get shredded and never make it. They only put up what they want. And thus, they can push their agenda. They can push who they support politically. And that's why newspapers often announce which presidential candidate they support. This is why Twitter and Facebook cannot do that. But if 230's gone, they absolutely could. They could use their platforms the same way newspapers do. So there's two sides to this thing here now, right? So if you're on a platform then that decides to do all-out war against someone, it doesn't have to be a political party. It could be anyone. You could become the target of their angst. And the whole dynamic of the web changes. You will have to go back to having your own site like geeknewscentral.com. You'll have to go back to having your own forums like you used to. You'll have to have discussion. You won't have this wide body of discussions going on, which really have been filtered for a long time already, but we're largely ignorant of it. Now, one thing we've got some people that live outside the United States here, and you have to understand that you're not subjected to American news media in the same way that we are here. I got a private note from someone down in New Zealand who lived here in the United States for a long time, and he basically said he loved it in America because there was lots of diverse opinions, and then down in New Zealand, he gets one opinion, and it all leans one way politically. There's not diverse discussion point. It's as the government blows. It's often how the news. So we have something unique here that 230 has provided, and these companies have pressed right up against it in order to editorialize content coming from individuals. Now, what's kind of interesting, makes me laugh, is Twitter was getting a lot of heat about how they were not doing any of this to the Chinese. But lo and behold, today, Twitter fact-checked China for the first time. They actually went through and did the same thing, finally to China months later. So they've added their fact-check warnings, finally, to China's foreign ministry spokesperson. Finally, after being called out on it. The warning has been added to tweets from spokesperson Lilian Zhao, in which he warned it might be the U.S. Army who brought the epidemic to Wuhan. It took Twitter 2 months after the tweets were first posted. Oh, where did this come from? No, this didn't come from Fox. This came from the BBC. The BBC reported on this, but you didn't hear about that reporting in the American press. One tweet from the Chinese from March 12th criticized U.S. Center for Disease Control for a lack of clarity before alleging that it might be the U.S. Army was somehow involved in the Wuhan breakout. No fact-checking was applied to the Chinese. Why? Why is Twitter so friendly to the Chinese? In another tweet, he linked to an article claiming to have evidence that the virus originated in the United States, encouraging people to read and retweet it, which thousands did, with no fact-check faults, but nothing for 2 months. 2+ months. They are politically biased and ultimately going to now be accountable for some of these actions. So you don't want to read American press, go read the BBC. Go read someone else. Get some news here. So again, I've been saying for a long time, and this is just more proof of it, that there's an incredible amount of shadow banning going on. And not just on right, left, black, white. I've told the story a number of times on the show already, how I was sitting at Dragon Con. I was sitting in the back of a panel, very diverse group, very diverse, black, white, LGBT, the whole 9 yards, very diverse group. And they were talking about how they and their content and their message censored, taken down from community standards. So don't think this is just political. And some of you are going to say, "Oh, Todd, you're just mad." I'm not mad. We've talked about this many, many times on this show. Many times on this show. And I hope some of you are waking up a little bit. Maybe everyone has already left because I've talked about this too much. Maybe some of you have already left. Do I believe in freedom of speech? Absolutely. Spent 25 years in the Navy as one of the primary reasons to protect our way of life and doing things here. And I take it very seriously. I may not like what someone has to say, but they have the right to say it. There are consequences for saying stuff that may be wrong or discriminatory or hate. So I'm not saying that I consent or agree or that I'm going to allow hate or any type of that type of content on my platform, because I won't. but I'm also not going looking for it. I'm waiting till someone reports it to me and says, hey, there's hate speech here. I turn it over to the lawyer, we review and make a decision. So there's a game afoot. You see stuff again being taken down off Facebook. You see stuff being taken off YouTube. We're dealing with stuff being taken off some of the music platforms like Spotify. Just having the wrong word in the title gets it removed from Spotify. Gets a whole show banned. They're not based in America. Their company is outside the United States. So what say you? geeknews@gmail.com. What say you on my commentary tonight on this? And again, let's not make it political. We can all agree to disagree, to hate, like, love, shout hooray, or fire, or whatever you want to say about the tweet. But it goes back to Section 230 and the protection that's been afforded companies like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Blueberry podcasting, about these external voices coming in that's us. Just on the merit of that, what say you? Again, you can't have it both ways and maintain a Section 230 protection. Let's be clear about that. If you want to edit, you can edit. That's your choice. But you don't get Section 230 privileges or protection if you do. Many have for many years by pushing a line on this. Now, let's move on to another villain. Amazon. Excuse me. No, that was subliminal. Amazon's not a villain. Arizona, or at least not till maybe a later story. Arizona is suing Google, claiming it illegally tracked Android users. Oh, no kidding. The state said Google misled customers who tried to opt out of location tracking. Huh. Okay. What have we been talking about location tracking? We've been talking a lot about it, location tracking here, right? So, but basically, they're claiming it collected location data from users without permission. The state attorney's general, Mark Baranovich, argued that Google kept location tracking in the background for mapping weather and other apps along with searches, even if the user turned the feature off. The state argued that Google made it too complicated to completely disable tracking, forcing users to dig into granular Android system settings when consumers tried to opt out of Google's collection of location data. The company is continuing to find misleading ways to tame the information and use it for profit. Now, I'm just going to tell you, go ahead, go into your Android device or even your Apple device and turn all that location tracking off. Deny it for every app, everything you can find, and then go about a week and go back and check location tracking stuff. Invariably, it will be back on because some app will have snuck it in, something will have turned it on. So the state is asking the court to force Google to pay back Arizona profits earned through ads that monetize that data, as well as potential fines of up to $10,000 per violation. This lawsuit is the latest in a long string of legal actions against Google over privacy and other issues. Google has recently fined $1.7 billion in the EU for abusive advertising practices and $170 million by the U.S. Federal Trade Commission for illegally collecting data about children watching YouTube cartoons, to name just two notorious cases. So we'll see how this goes. You'll be amazed if you haven't. If you've never looked at your Google Map location tracking data that's been turned on, if you've never looked at that and it's turned on your phone, you can go back and see where you were 5 years ago today at the exact time of looking at your phone. It's all there, If you've never turned this off or cleared that, all that data is there. It can show you where you have been every day, every hour, every minute of your life going back many years. Discerning. You care. Uber says 158,000 drivers will lose work if they reclassify as employees. So California has reclassified or may reclassify their drivers as employees. And according to the company, passengers could expect prices to go up 20 to 120%. Now think about that. To pay them a fair wage, you have to increase fares by 20 to 120%. And tens of thousands of drivers may be out of work. Of Uber's 209,000 drivers in the state, the company said 76% could lose their jobs on the ride-hailing platform. Rural areas would be hardest hit by these cutbacks. We have no rural drivers here in Michigan. You need a car, or you're going to be using your thumb to get around. So those of you that live in California that rely on Uber, if 158,000 of the 200,000 some drivers are gone, it'll be your state legislator and tax collection and all those people's fault. Tell you what, how many people in California don't have cars because they can ride Uber and Lyft so cheap? A lot. New York City, a lot. And all of a sudden, you're forced to ride taxis again? Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. iPhone 12 could, according to rumors, be launching this November. So I'm going to be due for a phone, I think. So that would be perfect. Apple typically launches new iPhones around September. But because of the delay, it could be October or November. And some even say it could be going to 2021. So speculation continues. Also, if you have an Amazon Prime account, you will not see HBO Max without Prime Video channels tie-in. You'll have to load HBO Max separately, but it will not be on, I believe, on an Amazon device directly. So HBO Max has not been like, same thing with Apple TV. It's not in the channels function. And you may have to use another device like Roku or something like that. And so sadly, that's an issue here, but it won't be in the channel section for sure. There's a new browser out there. I don't know if it's new, but it's been around. I guess they've introduced something kind of cool. Brave. That's the name of the browser. Has built privacy-focused video chat into its browsers, inviting others to video conference as simple as sharing a web address if they already have Brave installed. Again, Brave is a privacy-focused browser. Added video conferencing feature. Everyone's in the video conferencing. That is I tell you, you know who's being pummeled? Citrix GoToMeeting. Back in the day, that was the only game in town. $40 a month. Now, Zoom, it's like $120 a year. Brave free. Gmail Meet free. All these meeting platforms are free. Well, this is one thing COVID-19 has definitely given us, the option to have free video conferencing. That's a business that has been simply destroyed. You can even stream live with Zoom now. It's amazing. It is nothing fancy anymore. Anyone can do it. Google has added anxiety self-assessment to search. Their search giant is partnering with the National Alliance on Mental Illness to provide online resources. So this is good. A lot of people right now are mentally having some challenges out there. So starting today, when Google users in the United States search for information about anxiety, they'll be directed to the self-assessment in Google's Knowledge Panel, the box of key facts and information at the top of the search results. Medically validated information about symptoms and common treatments of anxiety will appear in the box. The assessment is called the Generalized Anxiety Disorder-7, GAD-7, and will ask 7 questions that healthcare professionals may ask when screening for anxiety. The assessment will also provide access to resources developed by NAMI. So here's the question. Then what happens with that assessment? Does that go back to anybody? Tied to your Google account? Is it private? Nothing's being said about this here. So Google's saying, though, that it does not collect or share answers or results from the questionnaire to ensure results will be private and secure. But are they giving, what are they, it makes you wonder here, right? Google just got sued for tracking when they said they weren't. Chrome operating system 83 debuts with improvements to Google Assistant, Family Link, and Virtual Desk. So they continue to roll stuff out here. So I don't understand naming virtual desks. And I guess I've never played with this. But Google will allow users to name their individual desk for ease of organization. Oh, I guess you can name your desk and load your desk, basically the tabs, the default tabs. Also, visible passwords in the passway enter field. For some reason, you were ever quite able to. What does this say? This spelling error. For some reason, you were ever quite able to see your password or PIN entered into the logon box. Google's changed that with this update, and your Chromebook's password field now works like every other login field. Okay, that was poorly written. Media sessions with Assistant. Google Assistant on the Chromebook gets a bit more media friendly. The service can now control media with commands like pause, resume, etc. Family Link improvements, tab groups as well. So I like tab groups. I think that's pretty slick. I use a lot of tabs. Also, there's a big Windows 10 update coming. So what are you getting for Windows 10? Oh, before you update Windows 10, you need to back up your critical files, delay the update, make sure that it's a nice, good one. If you update the first day, you've been forewarned, and you'll know how to reinstall Windows 10 before you do your update. But anyway, supposedly this update's going to bring you an even speedier Linux to Windows 10. Okay. I didn't know that Linux was built into Windows 10. There's going to be, you're saying goodbye to Microsoft Paint and WordPad. They're going to force pins, face, and fingerprint unlocks now. You can do that in the settings. What else? There's some new stuff on the game bar, some new stuff in looking at GPU loading. You've got the ability to download a fresh copy of Windows 10 when you reset your PC as well. Some Cortana stuff. What else? A whole bunch of stuff here. So the link will be up in the show notes. You guys can go check it out. So when you stand by for the big May update. A giant comet that was spotted in 2017 is still heading towards Earth. Comet K2 won't arrive until 2022, but it already has attention of astronomers. I did an interview that went live today on the Podcast Insider. It was an astronomer down in South Africa. And we talked a little bit science and geeky stuff. And by the way, wasn't it sad that SpaceX did not get off the ground? They had that weather delay, so we'll see what happens here Saturday. But again, a chance of bad weather, but I will definitely be watching. Very exciting stuff. It was really cool to see, this modern spacecraft with, glass touchscreens and everything. I got to thinking about it a little bit, and you launch and you get up into space, and all of a sudden the screen goes out, and you're like, anybody got a screwdriver? The connector came loose. I'm sure that stuff is good and secure, but what can go wrong will go wrong when it comes to electronics, and especially digital stuff in space. I'm glad they had some actual real buttons there they could push if the screens went sideways. But anyway, this giant comet, 2022. So they're all excited. There's a new custom webcam system, lets you take Zoom calls on your TV from your couch. Probably not a good idea if you're doing meetings that way. It's called the Cereston, Creston Home Time. Doesn't require a specialized TV. It should work with any TV with an HDMI port and a camera. Home Time uses a Logitech 4K Meetup camera, which has a wide angle lens, its own onboard speaker system, and a beamforming microphone array to pick people up. And it's only going to set you back about $6,100. So, anyone need a used car for the television? Apple wants AI to make its product smarter. They went out and bought a company. They purchased a small Ontario-based machine learning startup called Inductive, with its usual boilerplate statement that it's purchased companies like this from time to time and doesn't want to tell us anything more about it. Inductive was small and didn't have too big of a footprint. It did have a small cadre of extremely talented employees and was run by a ranking AI professor from Stanford University, University of Waterloo, and the University of Wisconsin. So everyone is looking to crack that artificial intelligence, break it down. Amazon.com was briefly down for many in the United States today. They had a short outage, so if you were trying to shop, you may have gotten kicked offline. Amazon is also going to offer permanent roles to 70% of the 175,000 new United States hires. So congratulations to those folks that are picking up a job. Also, Neuro, remember Neuro? Neuro is going to be testing autonomous prescription deliveries for CVS. The first phase of this will be conducted in parts of Houston. So, Houstonians, you guys drive like crazy. So you're not going to like this device that drives the speed limit and has a little flashing light on it. I fully predict that this Neuro vehicle, as they call it, at some point will be plowed into at a high rate of speed by someone driving in Houston, because you all drive like they do in Atlanta. If you're not doing 80, you're in the way. So it's going to be very curious to see how this little vehicle with a little flashing light on top survives as it's self-driving itself around Houston. All I can say is good luck with that. Someone with a big 4x4 will just come in and run this thing over. That's what's going to happen. Okay, Qualcomm has got its first Wi-Fi 6E chip. It's available. They announced the first chip will support the brand new version of Wi-Fi that should be faster. 2 sets of products are being announced today, one for phones, which should ship in the second half of the year, and one for routers, which will start shipping immediately. The key feature of all these chips is to support the Wi-Fi 6E, which takes advantage of the 6 gigahertz spectrum that was newly opened for Wi-Fi in the U.S. by the FCC last month. So this, again, was the largest expansion of Wi-Fi spectrum and really ever. So we'll see what happens with this highly lucrative frequency. Hulu is also testing watch parties for ad-free subscribers. So it only works on desktops and web browsers at the moment, but you can fire up a watch party. You see those from time to time on Facebook and so forth. So we know that online viewing parties have become popular for some folks, and the Hulu is dipping its toes into that as well. So if you're not paying, it can still participate. So maybe they're going to do a bait and switch and give it to you for free for a little while, then push it off. All right, Facebook is going to verify identities for suspiciously popular accounts. Accordingly, it's another step in the fight against misinformation. So they've been identifying identities of page managers for a while in its quest to stamp out misinformation. But now it's shifting that attention to individual accounts. The social network will now verify the identities of people behind profiles that both have a pattern of inauthentic behavior and whose posts rapidly go viral. This could determine if a suspicious popular account is really part of a propaganda campaign, to put it another way. And again, banning accounts. So, interesting move here, what they're going to do. Google Suite users can now make Google Voice calls right inside Gmail. And, do we really need a phone anymore? All these options to make calls. I can call on Slack. I can call on Google Suites. I can, just about everything gives me the ability to do calls. And, all these meetings I'm having, they're set up by third parties, and I'm the one joining a meeting. it's largely been Zoom. I haven't seen too much use, of other platforms, to be frank. So anyway, but that's something that's coming to you. If you're a Disney Plus user and you love The Simpsons, you can watch the early Simpsons episodes as intended on Disney Plus in 16:9. So they were only available 4:3, before. So they have a remastered aspect ratio, so you can see them wide now. Now, the 4:3 format won't cut off sight gags like before, so some people are having problems with 4:3s, not seeing them completely clearly. So let's go on. Let's skip that one. Samsung's health platform will rise on its TVs. Its 2020 TVs. It'll give users access to 5,000 hours of free health and wellness content. So doing yoga, doing fitness stuff like from Julian Holmes is a popular fitness coach. So lots of content there, 250 instruction videos, workout content from HIIT, Zumba, boxing classes, meditation videos. Again, it goes across a wide intention of stuff. I think this is smart to have it included right with the set. A lot of us are getting fat just sitting home right now. Boeing has brought back the 737 MAX, but also lays off thousands, and no sign of safe software or approval to fly. So Boeing has resumed production of the 737 MAX, so they must know something. Of course, how many of those orders have been canceled? Now, that passenger plane had software so flawed that its certification was yanked. And a brief statement from Boeing's said that more than a dozen initiatives focused on enhancing workplace safety and product quality are now in place at Boeing's factory in Renton, Washington. The announcement also mentioned improvements to production systems and all sorts of new arrangements. But again, there was no mention of the software other than the quick reference to quality, nor there was indication that the U.S. FAA will recertify the plane after grounding in 2019. So at least those on the 737 MAX line have work. Boeing has also announced 6,700 layoffs in the United States and plans for more around the world. So not until they get flying again do we need airplanes. And here's the problem. When airplanes sit, they just break. Airplanes are designed to be exercised. I guess that's the best word. But when you have these complex systems, and yes, complex as hydraulics and electronics and radios and radar and entertainment systems, this stuff just has a tendency to break when it just sits around for a long time. Now, when it's up and running, power's going, fluids are moving, stuff doesn't cool off. They just work. Now, they'll spring a leak once in a while, but airplanes largely don't. It's just the nature of the beast. And plus, they're susceptible to getting additional corrosion and everything that goes on. Believe me, airlines do not like airplanes sitting around on the ramp. Apple reportedly team up with Martin Scorsese, can I pronounce his name, on a $180 million movie. It's called Killers of the Flower Moon, and will star Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. Yeah, two of my most favorite actors. Gag. So we'll see what they come up with. But it's based on a book by the same name. It portrays an investigation of the murders of Osage Nation natives during the 1920s in Oklahoma. Profit sharing from oil deposits on their lands and made them wealthy, and eventual targets. So this is what this movie will be about. $180 million probably coming to Apple TV. Also, Google has rolled out a simplified Gmail setting menu. That's good to know. It's only for the web app, though. I have not seen that yet. Now, how many of you love pinball machines? Well, there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pinball machine. It looks like a radical blast of the 90s nostalgia. It's from Stern Pinballs. I've seen Stern Pinballs before. They're not always full size. Sometimes they're minis. I'm trying to bring it up here on the screen yet, but the screen hasn't updated on my NDI because I launched it incorrectly today. But this thing is screaming like you're going to lose quarters here because it's a pretty wild paint job or design on the on the actual pinball machine and stuff. Come on, update. Well, if those of you watching, you won't get to see it. Sorry. Okay. Final article tonight. Oh, that was it. Hey, we've been putting a lot of content out on geeknewscentral.com. So make sure you get over there to look at that. I've also got some emails that have come in that I want to read to you. Let's see here. Am I on the right email address? Yes, I am. Got an email from, let's see here. When was the last show? We did this last show on the 21st. So got an email from Ron. Okay, so Ron was the listener that was mad at me. He said, "Hey, Todd, thanks for reading my message. I've gone back and listened to the intros on a couple of shows. A lot of things that upset me on an ongoing basis tend to reflect the difference in the way Americans and Canadians view things. Show 1445, the rants about Facebook banning some people for breaching community guidelines, was one that triggered me. I may have triggered you tonight, Ron. Also, your reference to people watching broadcast news as sheep annoyed me, but I have reconsidered as I forgot how biased your TV stations can be. Biased they are. They are either right or they left. There's hardly anything that is down the center. Because I have cousins in California that cause me to shake my head as they are entrenched in Fox News and Facebook as their source of information." Well, there's a lot of people like that on a variety of different topics, Ron. But thanks. Got an email from Sam. Here's another show recommendation. Now Sam is one of our super Ohanas that have. Sam is the one that's responsible for 99.9% of the album art that we put in the show notes. He says, "I have not seen this, but my friend recommended it to me. I heard you mention Upload, so I asked him if he'd seen it, and he recommended Tales from the Loop. So, Sam, I started watching Upload. Not bad. I think I made it 3 or 4 episodes so far. Not bad. Tales from the Loop, I think I tried to start watching that once before, but haven't quite got there yet. But anyway, we'll definitely check that out." Got an email from Rob. He says, "Hi, Todd. Just wondering, what is up with Amazon shipping? I can understand that at first it was slow due to priority shipping. But at this point in time, I wonder why they haven't got it back together. Some of us paying for Prime shipping, perhaps we should get refunds. I live in a rural area of northern Ontario, but Prime usually got us stuff within 2 or 3 days, often right at our door. Sometimes at the post office. Now it's taking 1 or 2 weeks or more and no home delivery. Are they using COVID as an excuse to save money on their part? Starting to see a pattern. Bezos doesn't seem to care much about the little guy, just the almighty buck." My prediction here, Rob, is that we're all shopping from home. We're not going to Target, Walmart, small businesses. We're not going to those places. So the only place to buy stuff from is Amazon. And I think they have that's why they hired 175,000 people, because their shipping went through the stratosphere. So, and also, delay of stuff coming in. Stuff isn't getting into the warehouses and being replenished. I tried to order something. What I tried to order was a GoPro adapter, $49. GoPro adapter for my GoPro 7 to be able to put an external mic on it. Amazon told me 6 weeks, which probably meant out of stock. I went to GoPro, actually got it for $34. They had it on sale, and it arrived today. And I ordered it Saturday? No. I ordered it during the weekend, and it arrived pretty quickly. So, I don't know. I don't know why they still haven't got their act together. I'm seeing increases in speed a little bit. I know. So it sounds dumb. I'm wearing shorts. I'm done wearing pants for the year. I hope it's not going to snow here tomorrow. But so I was out of shorty socks. And how pairs come up missing. What is up with socks? They have this, this miraculous thing of being able to lose themselves, right? So I think I only had 3 or 4 pair of shorty socks. I ordered a 6-pack of shorty socks from Amazon, and 3-day delivery. So I don't know if that's essential because it's clothing or if they had it in stock. Yeah, I don't know. So what's everybody else seeing? You guys seeing still huge delays on Amazon deliveries? Or is stuff speeding up and getting to you quicker? I would suspect as people start going back to work and able to go to shopping different places, Michigan is still locked down to June 12th. I'm technically not supposed to be leaving my house. But anyway, dinner in Indiana the past weekend was great. Mexican food. All right, I think that's it. I've yacked my head off here. I hope we did okay at the beginning, or I did okay in the Section 230 stuff. What did I get wrong? And here's what I also want to do. If you've hung out this long, I read something today that made me kind of go, a little bit. I know we've got people that listen to the show that come from a variety of backgrounds. You are subject matter experts in something. You're either a doctor or you are a physicist or nuclear scientist or you are a lawyer or whatever you may be. I don't know what your specialties are across this show, and we have a wide, diverse audience. So why don't you help me out here when I'm talking about some stuff? If I'm wrong, throw on your positioning hat as and be a producer here of the show and send me a note and correct me or add commentary or add color to stuff that I'm discussing, because all of you've got something to contribute, and I have to hit on a topic that you are familiar with in some way at some time. And that way you guys can start having input into the show content and information that I'm talking about. So I want to empower some of that. You don't have to comment about the show, but you can add your expertise as a producer in this show. And I want to start focusing on a lot more of that here in this podcast to bring out your strengths. If some of you that are electricians, you guys all rolled your eyes when I told you I just about got electrocuted this weekend. And I've been shocked many times. I've had DC connections and all kinds of crazy things happen to me working on airplanes. So this was stupidity on my part. But you're going to send me some comment about how I was stupid and should have went back and checked that socket after I turned that breaker off to make sure that it was truly out. And I had my meter out, was laying right there beside it. So this is what I want to hear from all of you that are subject matter experts in something that Todd definitely isn't. So, all right, we're getting out of here. geeknews@gmail.com. geeknews@gmail.com is the email address. Are you liking how the show's been going? Been kind of fun, I think. I'm having fun recently since I've allowed myself to be a little less constrained. geeknews@gmail.com. Hey, become an insider. If I was worth 6.7 cents a day, get in there at $2. If I was worth a little more, $5, $10, $15, $20, or $25, we've had a few more insiders come in. That I do appreciate. So every penny that you put in as an insider goes back to paying salaries of our writers. Not a penny of that comes to me at all in salary. Wish it did, but let's, help support the show. I definitely appreciate it. As you cannot imagine, it's a big help. So, but anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the family. Thank you for putting up with my shenanigans. And, but yeah, we're all family here. We can all agree to disagree from time to time. And hopefully we agree most of the time. We all go forward together. All right, everyone, take care. We'll see you next time here on the Geek News Central podcast. Take care. Bye-bye.